Ji-hoon kept his head down as he walked through the crowded bazaar. The noise was almost too much for him. Dozens of alien voices mixed together, speaking languages he couldn't understand. Strange smells filled the air from food stalls selling things he'd never seen before. Bright lights flashed from every direction, advertising products in symbols that hurt his eyes. He shouldn't have come alone. His father had offered to walk with him, but Ji-hoon had insisted he could do this by himself. He was 17 years old, not a child anymore. He needed to prove he could handle being around others, even if every instinct told him to run back to their ship. The Nexus Station Bazaar stretched out like a metal canyon, with stalls built on top of stalls reaching up 3 levels high. Merchants from across the galaxy shouted at passing crowds, trying to sell everything from weapons to exotic pets. Ji-hoon had counted at least 20 different species just in the last 5 minutes. He stopped at a stall displaying small electronic parts. Maybe he could find something interesting to bring back to the ship. His hands trembled slightly as he picked up a circuit board, examining it closely. The merchant, a blob-like creature with too many eyes, gurgled something at him. Ji-hoon couldn't understand and quickly put the item down, moving on. That's when he saw the crystals. They sat on a raised platform at the next stall, glowing with an inner blue light. Beautiful and mesmerizing, they looked like frozen lightning captured in glass. Ji-hoon found himself drawn closer, forgetting his nervousness for just a moment. He'd read about Valtrian crystal cores in his studies. They were used in older ship engines, not very efficient but pretty to look at. He leaned in to see them better, not noticing how close he was to the display's edge. Someone bumped into him from behind. Hard, Ji-hoon stumbled forward, his arms flailing as he tried to catch his balance. His elbow hit the display platform and everything seemed to happen in slow motion. The crystals wobbled, then tumbled off the stand one by one. They hit the metal floor with sharp cracking sounds, scattering in every direction. "No, no, no," Ji-hoon whispered, dropping to his knees immediately. He tried to gather the crystals, his heart pounding so hard he thought it might burst. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, I'm so sorry." A massive shadow fell over him. Ji-hoon looked up and up and up. The merchant was huge, easily 3 meters tall, with scaled green skin and yellow eyes that glowed with anger. His species was called Dravik, and they looked like someone had mixed a crocodile with a bear and made it walk on 2 legs. "You break my merchandise," the Dravik roared, his voice so loud that nearby conversation stopped.
"You stupid human child."
"Those crystals worth fortune." "I'm sorry," Ji-hoon stammered, still on his knees. "It was an accident. Someone pushed me. I didn't mean to." "Accident? Accident?" The merchant, whose name badge read Krell, bent down until his face was level with Ji-hoon's. His breath smelled like rotten meat. "You think sorry pays for damage? Each crystal worth 2,000 credits. You break 12. Ji-hoon's mind raced to do the math. 24,000 credits? He didn't have that kind of money. His father did, of course, but Ji-hoon only had the small amount in his personal account. Maybe 300 credits at most. A crowd was forming now. Ji-hoon could feel dozens of eyes on him and his chest tightened. This was his worst nightmare, being the center of attention with everyone staring and judging. "Please," he said quietly. "I can pay you back. Just give me time to contact my father." "Your father?" Krell laughed, a horrible grinding sound. "What can human father do?" "Probably poor like you. Humans barely have 2 ships to rub together." More laughter came from the crowd. Ji-hoon saw other merchants grinning, enjoying the show. A tall bird-like alien pushed to the front, his colorful feathers marking him as someone important. His species was avian, one of the older races in the galaxy. "Look at this pathetic display," the avian said, his voice dripping with contempt. "This is what happens when you let primitives into civilized space. Humans have been in the galaxy for what, 200 years? And they still act like clumsy children." Several aliens in the crowd agreed loudly. Ji-hoon felt his face burning with shame. He wanted to disappear, to sink through the floor and never be seen again. "My name is Civix," the avian continued, addressing the crowd more than Ji-hoon. "My family has traded across 4 sectors for 3,000 years. We know quality when we see it. Humans, they're scavengers. They barely figured out faster-than-light travel by copying everyone else. They have no culture, no grace, no place among the real powers of the galaxy." The words hit Ji-hoon like physical blows. He knew some species looked down on humanity. Earth was a newcomer to the galactic community, and humans had a lot to prove. But hearing it said so openly, so viciously, made him feel small and worthless. "I said I'm sorry. Jihoon tried again, his voice barely a whisper. Please, just let me contact my father. He'll pay for everything. Krell grabbed Jihoon by the front of his shirt, lifting him off the ground with one massive hand. Jihoon's feet dangled in the air and real fear shot through him. You know what I think? Krell growled. I think you tried to steal these crystals. I think you bumped display on purpose, planning to grab some in confusion. That's what your kind does, yes? Steal and lie? No, Jihoon gasped. I would never. I was just looking. Thief, thief! Krell shouted to the crowd. Someone call station security. I want this human arrested. This couldn't be happening. Jihoon's mind went blank with panic. He'd done nothing wrong except be clumsy, and now he was being accused of theft in front of hundreds of witnesses. None of them were stepping forward to help him. They all just watched like this was entertainment. 2 security officers pushed through the crowd. They wore the gray uniforms of Nexus Station's private security force. One was a bulky humanoid with orange skin, the other a being that looked like it was made of living metal. What's the problem here? The orange one asked. But he was looking at Krell, not Jihoon. This human destroyed my property and tried to steal from me, Krell declared. I demand justice. I demand payment. The security officer looked at Jihoon, still dangling from Krell's grip, and shrugged. Looks pretty clear to me. Kid, you got the money to pay for damages? I can get it, Jihoon said desperately. Just let me call my father, please. Your father, Krell sneered. Everyone has rich father when they're caught. I'm tired of talking. You want to pay? Fine, 50,000 credits now. 50,000? Jihoon's voice cracked. You said 2,000 each. That's only 24,000. That was before, Krell said, shaking Jihoon slightly. Now I add charges for attempted theft, for wasting my time, for insulting me in front of other merchants. 50,000 credits or I sell your contract to labor ships. They always need humans for dangerous work. Maybe you survive 5 years, maybe not. The security officers nodded along, clearly not planning to help. Jihoon realized with horror that they were on Krell's side. Maybe he paid them. Maybe they just didn't care about one human kid. Either way, he was alone. Tears threatened to spill from Jihoon's eyes, but he fought them back. He wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing him cry. Let me contact my father, he said one more time, putting every bit of strength he had left into his voice. Please, just one call. Krell opened his mouth to refuse, probably to say something even crueler. That's when a new voice cut through the noise, calm and clear and absolutely cold. Remove your hands from my son. Now. The entire crowd went silent. Jihoon twisted in Krell's grip to see who had spoken. A man stood at the edge of the crowd wearing a plain gray jumpsuit with no markings or decorations. He was Korean like Jihoon, probably in his mid-40s, with short black hair showing some gray at the temples. He wasn't particularly tall or muscular. He looked completely ordinary, like a maintenance worker or maybe a ship mechanic, but his eyes were not ordinary at all. They were calm like deep water, and they were fixed on Krell with an intensity that made even the big Dravik hesitate. Father, Jihoon breathed, relief flooding through him. The crowd parted slightly as Deho Park stepped forward. He moved with the kind of quiet confidence that comes from never needing to prove anything to anyone. His gray jumpsuit was clean but worn, the kind of clothing a working man might wear on any ship in the galaxy. Nothing about him screamed wealth or power. Krell stared at him for a moment, then burst out laughing. Several others in the crowd joined in. This is your father? Krell said, still holding Jihoon off the ground. This nobody? Look at him. He dresses like a janitor. The Dravik's yellow eyes gleamed with cruel amusement. Let me guess. You're going to threaten me? Tell me you have powerful friends? Save your breath, human. Your son owes me 50,000 credits, and if you can't pay, he's going to work it off. Deho stopped a few meters away. His expression didn't change at all. He simply looked at Krell, then at Jihoon, then at the scattered crystals on the floor. His gaze moved across them slowly, counting, assessing. Put my son down, Deho said. His voice wasn't loud, but something in it made people listen. Then we can discuss this properly. Or what? Krell challenged, shaking Jihoon slightly. What will you do, old man? Deho sighed, the sound of someone who was tired of dealing with foolishness. I'm trying to be polite. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be. The security officers stepped forward, flanking Krell. The orange-skinned one crossed his arms. Sir, your son damaged property and is accused of attempted theft. Unless you can pay the merchant's claim, we'll have to detain him. Attempted theft? Deho's eyebrow raised slightly. Based on what evidence?
Based on my word.
Krell roared. This is my stall, my merchandise, my station. I say he tried to steal. Deho nodded slowly, as if considering this. Then he walked closer, ignoring the security officer's warning looks. He bent down and picked up one of the crystals, holding it up to the light. He turned it over in his fingers, examining it with practiced ease. Valtrian crystal cores, he said. Third-grade quality, standard manufacturing. Used in civilian vessels about 20 years ago. Mostly phased out now because of efficiency issues. He picked up another one, checking it the same way. These have some surface scratches already. Not new. He set them down carefully and looked up at Krell. Current market value for third-grade Valtrian cores is about 150 credits each. You have 12 here, assuming none were cracked before my son's accident. That's 1,800 credits total. I'll give you 3,000 as compensation for the inconvenience, and to replace any that were actually damaged. That's more than fair, the crowd murmured. Several merchants nodded, seeming to agree with Deho's assessment. Krell's face darkened with rage. You dare to tell me the value of my own merchandise? I set the prices here, not you. 50,000 credits, or your son becomes property. You're attempting extortion, Deho said simply. That's illegal under Nexus Station regulations and galactic commercial law. He turned to the security officers. Are you going to allow this? The metal-skinned officer shrugged. Merchant's word against yours. We side with established vendors. I see. Deho reached up to his wrist and tapped a small device there. Mireille, are you there? A woman's voice came from the device, clear and professional. Yes, Chairman Park, how can I help? Please identify my current location and send legal representation from Taesong Industries to Nexus Station immediately. Also, pull up our business dealings with this station. I want a full report on our contracts, maintenance agreements, and docking fees we've paid over the last 10 years. There was a brief pause. Then Mireille's voice came back. Already compiling the information, sir. Legal team will arrive within 3 hours. Should I also contact station administration? That won't be necessary. I'm sure they'll find me on their own. Thank you, Mireille. Of course, sir. And sir? I'm glad Ji-hoon is safe. Deho's expression softened for just a moment. So am I. He tapped the device off and looked back at Krell. The crowd had gone very quiet. Somewhere in the back, someone whispered something that sounded like Taesong Industries. Krell's confidence wavered slightly, but he pushed forward. I don't care who you called. You think fancy lawyers will save your son? This is my station. These merchants know me. You're just another human trying to act important. Taesong Industries, another voice said from the crowd. An elderly merchant, some kind of insect species, pushed forward. His voice was shaking. Did he say Taesong Industries? Chairman Park? The old alien looked at Deho with wide eyes. Are you the Deho Park? Yes, Deho said simply. The old merchant immediately bowed, which was strange to see from someone with that body shape. Honored Chairman? I didn't recognize you. Please forgive any disrespect. Other merchants started whispering frantically. Ji-hoon, still hanging from Krell's grip, saw fear spreading through the crowd like fire. Names were being passed around in hushed, urgent tones. Several aliens were backing away, and at least 3 merchants were frantically closing their stalls. Civix, the avian who had mocked Ji-hoon so viciously, had gone completely still. His colorful feathers seemed to lose some of their brightness. What's going on? Krell demanded, looking around confused. Who cares about some factory owner? Before anyone could answer, a commotion erupted from the main corridor. Station security in dress uniforms came running, followed by a tall, thin alien in administrator robes. The crowd scattered to let them through. The alien, a centaurian with pale blue skin and too many arms, was practically tripping over his own robes in his hurry. He rushed up to Deho, breathing hard, his large eyes even wider than usual. Chairman Park, he gasped. I just received notification of your communication with your legal team. Why didn't you inform us you were on the station? We would have provided proper security. What's happened? Are you injured? Is this about the docking fees? We can discuss a better rate. The administrator's name was Vex, according to his badge. He was sweating despite the climate-controlled air, and his multiple hands fidgeted nervously with his robes. I'm fine, Administrator Vex, Deho said calmly. My son, however, has been assaulted by one of your merchants and falsely accused of theft by your security force. Vex's eyes went even wider. He spun around to look at Krell, who was still holding Ji-hoon. Put him down. Vex shrieked. Put him down right now. Have you lost your mind? Krell dropped Jihoon so fast that the boy almost fell. Jihoon stumbled but caught his balance, immediately moving to stand next to his father. Daeho put a gentle hand on his shoulder, checking him over with concern in his eyes. I didn't know, Krell sputtered. He didn't say who he was. How was I supposed to know? You weren't supposed to know, Daeho said coldly. You were supposed to treat every customer fairly, regardless of who they were. That's how honest business works. Vex looked like he might faint. Chairman Park, please, let me apologize on behalf of the entire station. This is unacceptable. Krell will be punished severely. The security officers will be disciplined. Please, can we discuss this in my office? I'll personally ensure you receive compensation. Compensation? Daeho's voice was quiet, but there was steel in it now. My son was humiliated, physically assaulted, and threatened with slavery. Your security force assisted in attempted extortion, and you want to discuss compensation? We'll do anything, Vex pleaded. Name your terms. Please, Taesong Industries is vital to this station. We can't afford to lose your business. Daeho was silent for a long moment. The entire bazaar seemed to hold its breath. Jihoon could feel his father's hand on his shoulder, steady and protective. All his life, Jihoon had known his father was important. He ran a company, had meetings, traveled a lot. But seeing it like this, seeing the fear and respect in everyone's eyes, was different. I'll consider filing a formal complaint through the proper channels, Daeho said finally. My legal team will contact you with a full report. Whether we continue doing business with Nexus Station will depend on how you handle this situation. Of course. Absolutely. Vex turned to Krell, his voice turning harsh. You're done here. Security, remove his merchant license immediately. He's banned from this station permanently. What? Krell's voice cracked. You can't do this. I've been here for 15 years. You attacked the son of the man who built half the ships in this sector. Vex shouted. The man whose company employs 70,000 people. The man whose vessels dock here every single day bringing trade and business. You're lucky I don't throw you out an airlock. The security officers who had been helping Krell were now backing away from him, their faces showing their own fear. They clearly realized they'd made a terrible mistake. Daeho started to turn away, ready to leave with Jihoon, when Civic stepped forward. The avian's feathers were ruffled, his pride clearly wounded by everything that had happened. Chairman Park, Civic said, his voice dripping with false respect. I apologize for any misunderstanding. However, I think you should know that while Taesong Industries may build ships, my family's Talon Consortium controls trade routes across 4 sectors. We have influence that extends far beyond simple manufacturing. The crowd gasped. Jihoon felt his father's hand tighten slightly on his shoulder. Daeho turned back slowly, looking at Civics with an expression that was impossible to read. Are you threatening me? Daeho asked softly. Civic smiled, showing sharp teeth. Not at all. Simply pointing out that this, Back in their private quarters on the Seongnam, Jihoon sat on the edge of his bed while his father checked him over for injuries. The rooms were comfortable but not fancy, with simple furniture and neutral colors. Through the viewport, Jihoon could see the massive curve of Nexus Station's main ring, dotted with thousands of lights. I'm fine, father, Jihoon said quietly. Really, just scared. And embarrassed. Daeho knelt down so he was at eye level with his son. You have nothing to be embarrassed about. You did nothing wrong. Someone bumped into you and an accident happened. That merchant was looking for an easy target and he chose wrong. He paused, his expression softening. I'm sorry I wasn't there with you. I wanted to go alone, Jihoon reminded him. I need to learn to handle things by myself. You handled it perfectly, Daeho said firmly. You stayed calm, tried to reason with them, and didn't fight back when they got aggressive. That took real courage, son. More courage than it would have taken to start swinging fists. Jihoon felt some of the tightness in his chest ease. His father always knew how to make him feel better. Who is Civics? Why did everyone seem worried when he spoke? Daeho stood and walked to the viewport, looking out at the station. The Talon Consortium is a family business, passed down through generations of avians. They control shipping routes, trade agreements, and have connections with dozens of governments. On paper, they're very powerful. On paper? Jihoon asked. His father smiled slightly. Power comes in different forms. The Talon Consortium has influence through connections and old agreements. Taesong Industries has power through necessity. They can threaten to redirect trade routes, but we build the ships that travel those routes. Which do you think is more important? Before Jihoon could answer, his father's wrist device chimed. Daeho tapped it, and a holographic screen appeared in the air, showing the face of a Korean woman with sharp, intelligent eyes. She wore a business suit and looked to be in her 30s. Mirai. Daeho greeted her. Report. Chairman, I've compiled the information you requested, Mirai said. Over the past 10 years, Taesong Industries has paid Nexus Station approximately 40 million credits in docking fees, maintenance contracts, and business licenses. We have 60 ships registered to dock here regularly, with an average of 30 ships present at any given time. Station records show that our vessels account for 35% of all commercial traffic through Nexus Station. Daeho nodded, his expression thoughtful. And if we were to relocate our operations to a different hub? Nexus Station's revenue would drop by approximately 40% within the first year, Mirai said without hesitation. Several other businesses that depend on servicing our ships would likely close. Unemployment would affect about 8,000 station residents. The station would probably survive, but it would take years to recover. Thank you, Mirai. And what about the Talon Consortium's operations here? Much smaller, sir. They have an office on the station and handle luxury goods trading, but their actual economic impact is less than 5% of total station revenue. They're prestigious but not essential. I see. Thank you. Keep monitoring the situation. Sir, if I may? Mirai hesitated. Is Jihoon all right? When I heard what happened, I'm okay, Jihoon called out, feeling touched that she'd asked. Mirai had been his father's assistant for as long as he could remember, and she'd always been kind to him. I'm glad, Mirai said, smiling. Chairman, legal is standing by for your instructions. Tell them to wait. I want to see how the station handles this first. If they do the right thing, we'll drop the matter. If not, we'll proceed with formal action. Understood, sir. The hologram flickered out. Jihoon looked at his father with new understanding. You weren't going to leave it alone, were you? Even if Civics hadn't said anything. No, Daeho admitted. That merchant needed to be stopped, and the security force needed to be taught a lesson. But I would have handled it quietly through proper channels. Civics changed things. He turned from the viewport. He made this about power and influence, not justice. That was a mistake. Over the next hour, Jihoon watched as his father made several more calls. He spoke to other merchants on the station, to ship captains, to Taesong employees. Everyone was respectful, many were concerned, and all of them wanted to know what happened and if they could help. Through these conversations, Jihoon learned things about his father that he'd never fully understood before. One merchant, an old Valtrian named Kelsh, spoke warmly about how Daeho had given him a loan 15 years ago to start his business when no one else would. You never asked for special rates or favors, Chairman, Kelsh said. Just fair payment when I could afford it. My whole family owes our success to you. A ship captain named Hyerin, who Jihoon had met before, reported that word was spreading through the docks. The crews are talking, sir. Nobody's happy about what happened to Jihoon. A lot of people are saying if Nexus Station doesn't make this right, they'll follow Taesong wherever you go. The more Jihoon listened, the more he understood. His father hadn't built Taesong Industries through force or threats. He'd built it through fairness, quality work, and treating people with respect. Now, when his family was wronged, those people remembered. A sudden alarm made both of them look up. The ship's communication system came alive with Administrator Vex's panicked voice. Chairman Park! Chairman Park, please respond! This is an emergency! Daeho walked to the communication panel and pressed a button. This is Park. What's the situation? We've received a distress call from a passenger liner in Sector 7. They're under attack by pirates. The ship is Valtrian-made and their shields are failing. There are over 3,000 passengers aboard, mostly civilians. Our security ships aren't fast enough to reach them in time. Jihoon's blood ran cold. 3,000 people. How long until your nearest military response arrives? Daeho asked calmly. At least 2 hours. The pirates will have boarded them by then. They're demanding the passengers surrender. But everyone knows what happens when raiders take civilians. Please, I know I have no right to ask, but do you have any ships nearby that could help? Daeho was quiet for a moment. Through their viewport, Jihoon could see the emergency lights starting to flash across the station. Other ships were probably receiving the same distress call, but none were responding. Space piracy was dangerous, and most civilian vessels weren't equipped to fight. Father, Jihoon said softly, we have to help them. Daeho turned to look at his son, surprise clear on his face. Jihoon, it's dangerous. Pirates don't surrender easily. There could be real fighting. I know, Jihoon said, his heart pounding. I'm scared. But if we can help and we don't, those people will die. You taught me that power means responsibility. We have a ship. We have to try. For a long moment, father and son looked at each other. Then Daiho smiled, pride shining in his eyes. He pressed the communication button. Administrator Vex, tell me the exact location of that liner. Does this mean you'll help? Vex's voice cracked with hope. My ship, the Seongnam, will respond. Send us all the information you have on the pirate vessels. Thank you. Thank you. The passengers are from a dozen different species. You might be saving families, children. I'll send everything we have immediately. Daiho cut the connection and tapped his wrist device. Hiran, are you on board? Always, Chairman. The captain's voice came back. I heard the distress call. Should I prep the Seongnam for departure? Full combat preparation. We're going after those pirates. There was a pause. Combat? Sir, I thought the Seongnam was registered as a civilian transport. It's registered as many things, Daiho said with a slight smile. But what it actually is something else entirely. Prep weapon systems, shields, and tell the crew this is voluntary. Anyone who doesn't want to fight can stay behind. Sir, with respect, you know damn well nobody's staying behind. Give us 10 minutes. As his father went to prepare, Jihoon stood and followed. I'm coming with you. Jihoon, you don't have to. You can stay here where it's safe. No, Jihoon said, his voice stronger than he felt. If I'm going to inherit Taesong someday, if I'm going to be someone who matters, I need to understand what it means to take responsibility. Those people need help. We're going to help them. I want to be part of that. Daiho studied his son's face for a long moment, then nodded. Stay close to me at all times. Do exactly what I say. Understand? Yes, father. As they walked toward the ship's bridge, Jihoon heard announcements echoing through the station. The distress call was being broadcast publicly now. He heard merchants discussing it, heard people saying someone should help, heard the fear in their voices. He also heard Civix's voice making excuses. It's not our sector, not our responsibility. The Talon Consortium can't risk valuable assets for strangers. We'll pray for them, of course, other voices agreed with him. Too dangerous, not worth it. Let the military handle it. Logical reasons, practical reasons. But 3,000 people were going to die if everyone stayed logical and practical. The bridge of the Seongnam was larger than Jihoon expected. Multiple stations with complex controls, large screens showing space around them, and a crew of about 15 people, all moving with practiced efficiency. Hyerin sat in the captain's chair, a woman in her 40s with short hair and the bearing of someone who'd spent time in military. The Seongnam cut through space faster than any ship Jihoon had ever been on before. On the main view screen, stars stretched into lines as they pushed their engines to maximum. The bridge crew worked in focused silence, each person knowing exactly what to do. Distance to target 7 minutes, Hyerin announced, picking up multiple energy signatures. Confirmed 6 pirate vessels surrounding the passenger liner. The liner's shields are at 20% and dropping. Jihoon's mouth went dry. 6 ships. His father had said the Seongnam could fight, but could it handle 6 enemies at once? What class are the pirate vessels? Daiho asked calmly, as if he were asking about the weather. 4 light raiders, probably armed with plasma cannons and missile tubes, a crew member at the weapons station reported. 2 heavy frigates with better armor and firepower. The flagship is broadcasting as the Void Fang, commanded by someone called Vextar. He's got a reputation, sir. Brutal but smart. He usually doesn't take vessels unless he knows he can win. Then he doesn't know we're coming, Daiho said. Hyerin, approach pattern Delta. I want us between the liner and those frigates within 30 seconds of arrival. Weapons, lock onto the raiders first. Disable, don't destroy. These are still people, even if they've made terrible choices. Aye, sir. Both officers responded. Jihoon watched his father give orders with the ease of someone who'd done this before. Father, you were in the military, weren't you? Daiho glanced at him with a slight smile. A long time ago. Before I built ships, I flew them. Your mother made me promise to stop when you were born. His expression grew sad for a moment. Jihoon's mother had died when he was young. Too young to remember her clearly. She'd be proud of you today, Daiho said softly, then turned his attention back to the screens. Jihoon, I want you to watch everything carefully. This is what it means to have power and choose to use it for good, but also watch how easy it would be to use it for bad. The line between the two is sometimes very thin. The stars suddenly snapped back into points of light as they dropped out of their fastest speed. Dead ahead, Ji-hoon could see the passenger liner, a huge, bulky ship designed for comfort, not combat. It was surrounded by smaller, predatory-looking vessels like sharks circling wounded prey. Scorch marks covered the liner's hull and atmosphere was venting from at least 2 breaches. Broadcasting on all frequencies, Hiren said, "This is the vessel Seongnam. Pirates, you are ordered to withdraw immediately and cease your attack. This is your only warning." The response came back almost immediately, full of laughter. "This is Vextar of the Void Fang. Unknown vessel, turn around and leave or you'll be our second prize of the day. That liner is already ours. Don't die for strangers." "Your funeral," Hiren muttered. "Weapons free, Chairman?" "Light them up," Daeho confirmed. The Seongnam's weapon systems came alive. Ji-hoon had never seen anything like it. The view screen showed targeting reticles locking onto the enemy ships with impossible speed and precision. Then the ship vibrated slightly as weapons fired. So fast it sounded like a continuous hum. 2 of the light raiders were hit before they could even react. Their engines exploded in brief flares of light, leaving them drifting and helpless. The 3rd raider managed to turn toward the Seongnam and fire back, but their plasma bolts hit the shields and scattered harmlessly. "Shields at 98%, someone reported. That barely registered. The 4th raider tried to run. A single precise shot from the Seongnam disabled its engines too. All 4 light raiders were neutralized in under 20 seconds. "What is that ship?" Vextar's voice came over the comm, no longer laughing. "That's not standard civilian armament. Who are you?" "This is Chairman Daeho Park of Taesong Industries," Daeho said calmly into the microphone. "You're currently surrounded by 6 of my ship's weapon systems. Your heavy frigates are Taesong Mark IV models, if I'm not mistaken, built 12 years ago. License numbers VF2245 and VF2247. There was a long silence on the other end. "How do you know our ship models?" Vextar finally asked, his voice careful now. "Because my company built them," Daeho said. "I know every ship that leaves my yards. I know their capabilities, their weaknesses, their maintenance schedules. Your starboard frigate, for example, has a faulty cooling system in its reactor. You've been running hot for months. Push your weapons too hard and you'll have a containment breach." "You're bluffing," Vextar said, but he sounded uncertain. "Weapons station. Target the starboard frigate's reactor cooling ports. Show him I'm not bluffing." The Seongnam fired again. 3 precise shots that hit the exact points Daeho had indicated. Warning alarms could be heard through the pirate channel as their systems went critical. "Cease fire! Cease fire!" Vextar shouted. Reactor temperature spiking. "How did you know?" "I told you. I built those ships. Now here's what's going to happen. You're going to retreat immediately. You're going to leave this sector and never come back. In return, I won't disable your remaining vessels, and I won't report your ship identification numbers to every bounty hunter and military force in the galaxy." "You expect us to just leave?" Vextar said angrily. "We came here for a score. That liner has rich passengers. We've earned this." "You've earned nothing." Daeho's voice went cold. "You're pirates attacking innocent civilians. You deserve to be floating in space right now. I'm offering you a chance to leave with your lives. Take it." Another long pause. Ji-hoon could see on the tactical display that the pirate ships were repositioning slightly, as if getting ready to fight. His heart raced. "Would they actually attack?" "Chairman Park," Vextar said slowly. "You have 1 ship. We have 2 frigates still operational. Our weapons might be older than yours, but we outnumber you. Even if you win, we could damage your vessel. Is it worth risking your life for people you don't even know?" Daeho looked at Ji-hoon, and Ji-hoon saw his father asking him silently if he had an answer to that question. "Yes," Ji-hoon said firmly. "It's worth it." Daeho nodded and spoke into the comm. "Yes, it's worth it. And you're wrong about the numbers. Hire and show them." The Seongnam's sensors suddenly lit up with new contacts. Ji-hoon gasped as the tactical display showed 4 more ships dropping out of faster-than-light speed around them. All of them were Taesong vessels, commercial haulers, and cargo ships, but their transponders showed they were all armed. "You called for backup?" Ji-hoon whispered. "I sent a general message to all Taesong captains in the area before we left." Daeho explained quietly. "Told them what was happening. Asked if anyone wanted to help. They volunteered." Hiren was smiling. "Vextar, you're now looking at 5 ships, all Taesong built, all with captains who are very unhappy about what you've been doing. Still want to test your luck?" The pirate channel stayed silent for several long seconds. Then Vextar's voice came back defeated. We're withdrawing. But this isn't over, Park. You've made enemies today. I'll lose sleep over that, Deho said dryly. Now get out of my sight. The two pirate frigates slowly turned and began moving away, picking up their disabled raider companions with tractor beams as they went. Within minutes, they jumped to faster than light speed and disappeared. The bridge crew cheered. Hiren stood and saluted Deho with a grin. Not bad for a family transport, sir. Get us alongside that liner, Deho ordered. I want damage assessment and casualty reports. Deploy our medical team and engineering support. Let's help these people get home. Over the next hour, Ji-hoon watched as his father coordinated the rescue. The Seongnam extended docking tubes to the damaged liner, and Taesong crew members crossed over to help with repairs and treat injuries. The other ships that had come to help formed a protective perimeter, making sure the pirates didn't return. Ji-hoon found himself in the medical bay, helping distribute emergency supplies to injured passengers who were being brought over. He saw children crying, families holding each other, people in shock from what they'd just survived. An elderly woman, some species Ji-hoon didn't recognize, grabbed his hand as he gave her water. Thank you, she said in heavily accented standard language. Thank you for coming. We thought we were going to die. My father couldn't let that happen, Ji-hoon said, surprised at how steady his voice was. Nobody could. But everyone else did, the woman said sadly. We sent distress calls for an hour. Nobody came except you. Those words stayed with Ji-hoon as they escorted the repaired liner back to Nexus Station. The trip took 3 hours, and by the time they arrived, news of the rescue had spread across every communication channel in the sector. The docking bay was crowded when they landed. Hundreds of people had gathered, family members of the passengers, news reporters, station officials. Administrator Vex was there, practically crying with relief. The passengers disembarked to tearful reunions and cheering crowds. Ji-hoon and his father stepped off the Seongnam to find themselves facing a wall of gratitude. People wanted to shake Deho's hand, thank him, offer rewards. He accepted the thanks graciously but refused any payment. We did what anyone should have done, Deho said simply. I'm just glad everyone is safe. Ji-hoon noticed that Civix was nowhere to be seen. Neither were many of the other merchants who had mocked him earlier. But Kelsh was there, and Hiren, and dozens of other captains and crew members who had helped. Later, back in their quarters, Ji-hoon sat with his father and watched news reports of the UA. The message was from Administrator Vex, marked urgent. Deho opened the communication channel and Vex's face appeared on the holographic display. He looked exhausted, but there was something else in his expression too. Worry. Chairman Park, I apologize for disturbing you after everything that's happened today, but we have a situation developing. May I come to your quarters? I'd prefer to discuss this in person. Of course, Deho said. Come now. Vex arrived within minutes, his multiple hands wringing together nervously. He bowed deeply to both Deho and Ji-hoon before speaking. First, on behalf of everyone on Nexus Station, thank you again for what you did today. Those passengers, their families, they all owe you their lives. What's the situation, Administrator? Deho asked, gesturing for Vex to sit. Vex took a breath. About an hour ago, a Krathan warship entered our space. They claim they were responding to the same distress call as you, but they arrived too late. Now they're demanding to speak with you directly. They say they have questions about your intervention. Ji-hoon felt a chill run down his spine. The Krathan Empire was known throughout the galaxy as aggressive and militaristic. They were always looking for excuses to expand their territory and influence. What kind of questions? Deho asked calmly. That's the concerning part. Their commander, Warlord Thask, is claiming that by engaging the pirates, you may have interfered with what he calls salvage rights. He's suggesting the passenger liner should have been left for Krathan forces to rescue, and now they deserve compensation for lost opportunity. That's ridiculous, Ji-hoon said before he could stop himself. We saved those people. The Krathan ship wasn't anywhere near here. Vex nodded sadly. I agree, but the Krathan don't care about logic when they see an opportunity. Warlord Thask has a reputation for creating incidents that give the Empire excuses to make demands. I'm worried he's going to use this situation to cause problems for the station. Deho stood and walked to the viewport, looking out at the space beyond. Where is this warship now? Docked at the military berth. Thask has requested a formal meeting with you tomorrow morning in the station's diplomatic center. He claims it's a friendly discussion, but I don't trust him. Neither do I, Deho said, but we'll attend. Jihoon, you're coming with me. Me? Jihoon's voice came out higher than he intended. Father, I don't know anything about diplomatic meetings. You know enough, Deho said firmly. This involves what happened today, and you were part of that. Besides, it's time you learned how these things work. Power isn't just about ships and weapons. Sometimes it's about sitting across a table from someone who wants to intimidate you and not backing down. The next morning, Jihoon dressed in formal clothes that his father's assistant had delivered overnight. A simple but well-made suit in dark blue, similar to what his father wore. They walked through the station together, and Jihoon noticed that people stopped to bow or nod respectfully as they passed. The mockery from yesterday felt like it had happened years ago. The diplomatic center was a large neutral space designed for meetings between different species. The furniture could adapt to almost any body type, and the atmosphere was carefully controlled to be comfortable for everyone. Warlord Thask was already there when they arrived, along with 4 Krathan soldiers in full armor. Krathan were an impressive and intimidating species. They stood over 2 meters tall with thick gray skin covered in bony plates. Their faces were angular and harsh, with small eyes that seemed to calculate everything. Thask wore elaborate armor decorated with symbols of rank and past victories. Chairman Park, Thask rumbled, his voice deep and threatening. How generous of you to accept my invitation. And you brought your offspring. How trusting. Warlord Thask, Deho responded politely, showing no fear. My son Jihoon. He was present during yesterday's rescue, so it seemed appropriate for him to be here for this discussion. They sat across from each other at a large table. Administrator Vex sat to the side, looking nervous. Jihoon tried to keep his expression neutral, the way his father had taught him, even though his heart was racing. Let's not waste time with pleasantries, Thask said, leaning forward. Your interference yesterday cost the Krathan Empire a valuable opportunity. We were en route to rescue that passenger liner when you arrived first. Those passengers would have been grateful to the Empire, which would have strengthened our diplomatic relationships in this sector. You stole that from us. I saved 3,000 lives, Deho said calmly. That was my only goal. Your goal is irrelevant, Thask snapped. By arriving first, you denied us our right to assist. Under Krathan law, this is an act of disrespect. We demand compensation. 50 million credits should suffice. Jihoon nearly gasped out loud. 50 million credits was an enormous amount of money. Deho didn't even blink. No, the simple word hung in the air. Thask's eyes narrowed dangerously. You refuse? Do you understand that the Krathan Empire does not accept refusal? We have the military power to enforce our demands. You can try, Deho said, his voice still perfectly calm. But I think you should consider something first. You arrived in a Taesong Mark 7 heavy cruiser. Correct? Thask looked momentarily confused by the change of subject. What does that matter? It matters because I built that ship. Well, my company did, but I personally oversaw the design. I know everything about it. Deho pulled out a small datapad and began reading. Your vessel is designated THK 4477. It was manufactured 12 years ago at our Busan orbital facility and sold to the Krathan Empire as part of a bulk order of 20 ships. According to our records, it's now 3 years overdue for its required maintenance cycle. Thask's expression shifted slightly. Your point? My point is that I can see the diagnostic data from your ship right now. Every Taesong vessel has built-in remote monitoring systems. Not control systems, Deho added quickly. We can't take over your ship or anything like that, but we can see how every system is performing in real time. He turned the datapad so Thask could see the screen. Your shield generator is operating at 62% efficiency due to worn emitters. Your port weapons array has a targeting misalignment that reduces accuracy by 18%. Your reactor is running at 108% of recommended temperature, because your cooling system has a leak in conduit 7. Shall I continue? The Krathan warlord had gone very still. His soldiers looked at each other uncertainly. This is private military information, Thask said, his voice low and dangerous. How dare you access our systems? I'm not accessing anything, Deho explained patiently. Your ship is constantly transmitting performance data to Taesong Industries as part of the original purchase agreement. It's in the contract your government signed. We use this data to monitor for potential failures and schedule maintenance. It's a safety feature. Every species that buys our ships agrees to these terms. Jihoon was beginning to understand where his father was going with this. The Krathan Empire has 143 Taesong-built vessels in active service, Daeho continued. That's about 60% of your deep space fleet. You depend on our ships for long-range operations, military deployment, and territorial defense. These vessels require regular maintenance, replacement parts, and technical support, all of which Taesong Industries provides. What are you suggesting? Thask asked carefully. I'm not suggesting anything. I'm explaining reality. If the Krathan Empire chooses to pursue hostile action against me or my company, I will void all maintenance contracts immediately. I will refuse to sell replacement parts. I will blacklist your entire military from future purchases. Within 2 years, 60% of your fleet will be inoperable or unsafe. The room went completely silent. Vex looked like he might faint. Thask's soldiers were frozen in place. You would cripple our military over this? Thask demanded. Over a simple dispute about rescue rights? No, Daeho said firmly. I would protect myself and my company from extortion and false accusations. You have no legitimate claim here, Warlord. You know it and I know it. You arrived hours too late to help those passengers. And now you're trying to use threats to steal money from someone who actually saved lives. That's not how honorable warriors behave. That's how pirates behave. Thask stood up abruptly, his armor clanking. For a moment, Jihoon thought he might attack, but Daeho didn't move at all. He just sat there, calm and unmovable as a mountain. You dare insult Krathan honor? Thask growled. I dare to tell the truth, Daeho replied. If you want to talk about honor, let's discuss the fact that you're trying to profit from other people's near-death experience. Let's discuss the fact that you're threatening someone who did the right thing. How does that reflect on Krathan honor? Thask's jaw clenched. Jihoon could see the warlord calculating, weighing his options. Finally, Thask sat back down, though his posture remained aggressive. The Empire will remember this meeting, Thask said coldly. I'm sure they will, Daeho agreed. And when they do, they should remember that I offered fair business, reasonable terms, and quality ships at honest prices. They should remember that when their vessels needed upgrades or repairs, Taesong Industries was always available. They should remember that I've never used my position to threaten or blackmail anyone, including the Krathan Empire, until I was forced to defend myself today.